We're here to serve, because I always say to myself, what I was yesterday, somebody will be tomorrow. How do we serve? Love. Love is a gift. It's a gift God gave each one of us. If we understand what love is, that will take us places and make a difference.
Okay, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast. And I'm Dr. B, I'm your host, and today is a super special day for me. As we're doing these episodes, and I don't know if you know this, but we've done 115 episodes of interviewing Black men and how they are able to get along in life, and what are the things that they get stuck with. And one of the things, we have 5 pillars: trust, faith, identity, health, and finances. But I'm not sure which ones we will all talk about today, because we're going to just have so much fun doing it. And so a lot of the times, you guys, as you hear me and I'm on and we're talking, I talk about, the world that I had when I was, a kid and growing up. And then I talk about when I went to college, and where I was able to find people and mentors and learn about what does it take to be successful? What does it take to become the person you need to be in order to do what God put you on this earth to do. And so, as I think of through, I was so, I guess we call it green, as I left high school, and not having a clue and not understanding the world, and, moving away from my mom and dad, and not, like a lot of folks who go to college do. But I got to be around just some incredible people, some mentors that were able to help me become the man I am today. And so Innocent is one of those folks. I got to live with Innocent. I got to spend several years of our life together. We practiced together. We were on the same track team. We ate meals together. We did crazy stuff that you do in college. We are old men now, so we are not these young, but the memories are there. The things that we learned, the ways that we grew. When I got to meet Innocent, I was in awe, right? He was a, Olympian in 1980, that as a young man that got to compete in the Olympics, and got to compete in 5 or 6 Olympics, through his career, where most people don't ever get to do that. Most people don't get it. But what I can tell you is the strength of his character, the strength of who he is as a man, has been, one of those driving forces. When you meet somebody and you want to, you want to impress them, you want to show your best side to them. He was one of those mentors for me. I don't know if you know this, but when, we were in Hillsdale, and I won my first national championship, and I don't know how I did it. I leaned in when the other guy was raising his hands, and I did it. There was one person that I wanted to tell, and you were down on the lower field warming up or whatever, and all the ladies trying to interview me, and they're trying to get me to go to the podium or whatever it is. I'm like, no, I gotta find Innocent. I gotta go tell them that I won, because I wanted you to be proud of the person that I was becoming. And so our friendship has just been that great, since that time. And so, when I think of success, and I think that success leaves clues. The clues that we get to talk about today are just going to be phenomenal. The things that you are going to be able to glean from this one, the things that when you say, who should I be, or how should I, live my life so that I can do why God put me on this planet. And I think Innocent is an example of somebody who's lived his purpose. If we could all find, one of the things that I do is I try to help people find why God put them on this planet and live in that purpose. When I can point to Innocent and said, through his life, he's been able to live his purpose, and his purpose has been to serve others. And I promise you that, I say, Innocent, I had a guy on the other day who, because what I say, for all 115 Black men that I meet, the one theme is, if you're willing to serve others, you can be successful. If you're willing to put yourself second, but I had one dude the other day, he's like, no, I want to be the selfish man in the world. I don't want to serve anybody. And my tongue tied. I didn't even know how to have a
Say, yep,
at first. I
yep.
just was listening to him tell us how he was going to change the world, and if people were better because they were around him, not because he was serving them, but just because they're around him. And so, what an interesting conversation. So, anyway, what I want you to do is start your story. Because your story is a unique one. Your story isn't where you were born with the silver spoon in your mouth, and everything was the best thing that could possibly happen, and all the things that you went through, and just kind of tell us. And then after that, we'll kind of just talk about character and faith and identity and that kind of stuff. So thank you for finally being on. I didn't want to have you on my podcast when I had no clue what I was doing, because then I would. So I had to get to 100 episodes to say, all right, now let me go talk to the people that I love the most. So
Amen.
tell us,
Amen.
tell us who you.
Wow. I am so blessed. I mean, you're like a brother to me. Oh wow, I'm emotional right now because of looking on the rearview mirror, to from where we both came from. And I'll start with myself. I'm from Nigeria originally, and grew up in Nigeria. And growing up, I was one of those kids. I was the last child in my of my parents, and I was one of those that wanted to dabble into sports. And I have brothers that were faster than I have, but my parents never allowed them to play sports, and in my case, I my dad was a police officer, my mom a teacher. So I came from one of those families where discipline was the key, and as I go into that, I would say, I love your theme and the name, because it's Journey to Freedom. And believe me, it was a journey for me. It was a long journey. It was a long journey because I was never allowed to play sports. So what happened was, having come from a family where mom was a teacher, dad a police officer, the whole thing was education. Prior to me, I have my oldest sister and three other brothers ahead of me, and so everybody was doing what they ought to do except for me. So when I got into when elementary school, I started trying to play sport. I remember one occasion, have one of our best friends saw me go driving home, saw me on the streets, and then went to my parents' house, told my mom. They hopped in the car and they started driving back, and I was going to a track meet. I was going to a soccer game, and they saw me all right. I saw them, but then I was, my friends covered me, so I literally was disappeared. I disappeared. I had to disappear and act on them. So when I got home that evening, it was yes, I saw you. Lord forgive me, but no, mom, you didn't see me. I went back and forth. You saw me, you didn't see me, but at the end of the day, I got whooped. The kids today don't know what that means. I got spanked and all of that. So I was, it was a very disciplined home, where education was the number one thing. So as I continued, it wasn't healthy for me because there was no. I mean, my parents helped so much. They paid for me to go to it was called extramurals, which is evening, tutoring and everything for my. They wanted me to be, the best in school. So, but that being said, I did not pay, I did not allow them that opportunity, because they would give me money to go to to go give my teacher at the end of the month, and I would use that money to go get a cap to go to soccer games. I was a good soccer player. But it got to the point where my in 1980, my mom and dad, they had made this decision that, hey, you're going to finish your high school and we're going to get you into college. As to the point where one of the my state commissioner, the state I came from, the commissioner, even offered a full scholarship to me to go to attend high school to attend college in Nigeria. So any college I choose to go to in Nigeria, he'll give me a full ride.
Wow.
But the key was to play sport. But my mom and dad was not supporting that, and my high school principal was such that sports was his game. This man was recruiting athletes from all the other schools, bringing them in to play sport for my high school. So he was very, very in tune with sport, to the point where, we went to a competition. When we come back from competitions and we lose, he would bring us. We used to have an assembly where, every morning school day we had assembly. So all the students from classes 1 to classes 5 will assemble, and then we will sing, pray, and then announcements, and then we'll go to our classes. Well, but when we lost in competitions, this man would literally bring us in front of the whole school and spank us.
What?
Oh yes, oh yeah. He was. That's how strict the man was. Sports, like I said, sports was his game. So when my mom realized, my mom realized that he was supporting what I was doing, my mom took me early in the morning to his house. 6 a.m. we at the principal's house, because he lived on campus. And so my mom, we walked in, asked somebody opened the door. So my mom asked for his name, was COC Chiedozie. So it says, I want to talk to the principal. So the wife came out and said, we want to talk to my husband. She goes, yes. So the principal comes out, and my mom goes, I did not send my son here to play sport. My son is a student. So I don't know why. Do your children play sport? But the man was a politician already before he became a principal. So the man turned everything around and said, you've come to my house to insult me. So you've come to my house to insult me over your child that is blessed. Why will you do that? You're insulting me in my house. Your child, I'm helping you and your child. My mom was that tall, but she was so spicy. I didn't see my mom get very, literally, apologize in that case, because she was like, I'm going to go tell him like it is. But the man turned it around, and my mom was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to insult you, but I don't want my child to play sport. In the midst of all of that, I snuck out of their house in 1982, go to camp, and make the Nigerian Olympic team. How did they find out? It was in the media.
Oh gosh!
Yes, my brother helped me throw my suitcase down, and I was gone. It was in the media they found out. So they did not sit well with my mom. So what she did was she went to my grandmother, her mom, and told her, say, I've done everything to this young man. And he's not I don't want him to play sports. I want him to be a student, be, a doctor, a lawyer, this, that, and the other. But I've done everything, and he seemed not to understand. He's still being disobedient. And one thing my grandmother said, what name did I give him? What is his name? Because in Nigeria, your grandparents on both sides name you as well. So really? What the name she gave me, if you translate it into English, is God's leading example. Okay, so she says that's the name I gave him. So don't you understand that what you need to do now is pray with him that he will use his God-given talent to glorify God. It didn't make sense to me then, right? Yeah. So when I came home from the Olympic Games, I brought all the goodies in the world, and my brother says, "Come home." I said, "No." I said, "I know my mom, because she would disown me, or I'll be a mess, because she will whoop me like no, you know what I mean." So at the end of the day, I came home. I came into their house, and she literally told me the story. She went to my grandmother, and that she said for me to pray with me and for me to use my talent to glorify God. That's so cool. And that's how everything started. But then that journey began from there. Then I started sending letters to schools. It takes two weeks.
Yeah, there was no email back then.
Yeah, exactly. I started sending letters to schools. I sent letters to a lot of schools, lots and lots of schools. And the letter takes 2 weeks to get to America, 2 weeks to come back to America. All of a sudden, San Luis Obispo responded. I think USC responded, Kansas, a bunch of schools giving me a full scholarship. Then I got a letter from a school, Azusa. That's what we used to call it back home, Azusa. Pacific
Mm-hmm.
University. Nobody have heard of that. It wasn't. It was no. That wasn't in the radar. So, and what did the letter say? The man's name Terry Franson. I will take care of you. We'll make sure you will be a good student. We'll make sure you go to school and we'll take care of your relationship with God and everything. The next thing was my mom was like, "That's where you going?" I'm like, "Excuse you? You don't have any money. You don't have any money to pay my school fees." I'm like, "Mom, I can't go there. These other schools are giving me full scholarship." She says, "I don't want you to go to America and become a nuisance." Just like
Oh
that.
God.
He said, "I don't want you to go to America and become a nuisance because if you went to to any of these schools, they're already giving you full scholarship. Then you're going to start partying and chasing women everywhere, and then you're going to amount to nothing. That's not why we're sending you to America. We want to send you to America to use your God-given talent. So you're going to go to this school." I'm like, "What?" And what was Azusa giving me? Tuition scholarship. I had to pay for my room and board, which right when they saved enough, and they were taking care of my other siblings, but they raised enough money from their salaries and their retirement to pay for my first year, and that's how I ended up at Azusa Pacific. So when I came to APU, I was the last letter I received from Coach Francian was, when you get to the airport, you're gonna see somebody wearing a T-shirt that says Azusa Pacific Track and Field. Just follow them, and that's exactly what I did. And thank God that
Yeah.
in that experience, I got a chance to have gain a brother like you. Be able to, God used me to do what I did there, to be able to help, my fellow Nigerians to come to school there and be a blessing. And above all, to accomplish every step of where I'm at today. And it's all because of that village
Mm-hmm.
called Azusa, because of the likes of Coach Francine, yourself, Kristen, Tom Nixon. Them could go on. Chris Gonzalez,
Yeah.
Shane Pincher, Ted Campbell, Doug Lozelle. Those were the ones,
Yeah.
and Dave Johnson, you know, and I'm emotional about it because it was a journey that it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, because at times when I got back to on campus after competing, this the first thing they will ask me is, "You need to pay for your room and board." And I was like, I went to nationals and I ran 13, 14 races for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Is this where we're at? You know? But I didn't know it was building character.
Yeah.
It built character. Because at the end of the day, after we we won a bronze in the 4x4 in '84, Nigeria started paid the rest of my school fees till my first master's degree. That's what saved me, because I would have been, I probably, who knows, you know what I mean? But that's why I live a life to try to look, always thank God for every moment, because I mean it takes the saying, would say to say it, but it's real that it takes a village. You were my roommate. I remember, it was a we were in at Bowls, one bedroom, but all of us hang out. We made food. Your mom, your dad, your sister. It was a blessing. It was, it wasn't just, it was the family that I gained in the likes of yourself and some of, and other people. You
Yeah.
know, the sacrifices. Let's be honest too, for Coach Franson. I remember Mount Sacrilege one year. His wife was in labor, but he came to watch my race and then drove to go for his wife's delivery. I think it was Becky. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But those were the things that you look at. You say, "Thank you, Lord." That's why. What are we here to do? That's the question. We're here to serve. We're here to serve, because I always say to myself, what I was yesterday, somebody will be tomorrow. Somebody was day before yesterday. So but how do we serve? Love. Love is a gift. It's a gift God gave each one of us.
Mm-hmm.
If we understand what love is, you know, that would take us places and make a difference. My growing up, I tell people now, and I said the way my parents raised me, it was reversed psychology. If you don't do this, you're not gonna amount to anything, right? But you can't say that to a child today.
Oh no.
You see, but there, and those are the things that we have to understand. That did APU change me? Yes. Was it all bed of roses? No. I faced circumstances, challenges, still, but it's all about whose you are.
Yeah, yeah.
If that
Not
makes
who
sense.
you are, it's whose you are.
Yes, it's whose you are. Because who you are don't matter. You know what I mean? Like right now, and that's why the world is so screwed up today. Because when you ask somebody, who are you? What do they reference what they do? And that's why we're so messed up, because everything is about glamour. No. A student asked me a few months ago, who are you? And I looked them straight in the eye. I said, I'm a child of God, blessed and highly favored. That's who I am.
Love it. Love it.
And that's very critical, more especially for us. And I mean, what you faced, I faced double of that. I have an accent. Okay. The first thing when I speak, the first thing is, where you from? I could try to be like, I say, what's up, man? What's going on, my brother? But it doesn't matter. What they're listening to is that accent. And then you say where you from, then there's that, that
they have a thought in their mind of what that means. Yeah.
Exactly. That's judgment. But who am I to judge? Yeah. There's only one judge. If we will all understand, in the words of Rodney King, why can't we all get along? If we're going to understand, why can't we understand that we are made in the image of God? We're not made, what's amazing about it when I think about that, when God said, let us make man in our image. If color was an issue, he would have said that then.
Yeah.
So when I see any and everybody, I see the image of God. Unless somebody tells me different, then I will step back and I'll respect for who they are, if that makes sense, and who's they are.
That makes so much sense. So you're competing, you're staying, you decide, okay, wait, I got to continue to compete. God has given me this gift that's allowed me to travel the world, but you're not just, one of the things that I can remember, and the things that you've been able to do is, yes, you were competing and you were training and doing yourself, but you always had something in mind to help somebody else get to where they're at, whether they were an Olympic athlete or whether they were just a student somewhere. Kind of talk to us about, your journey after you graduated, not, continue to compete, but then, transitioning into coaching, into helping, into, continuing to walk people along, because, I can promise you that there are other people that got to compete and may not have, because of the things that you were able to impart in them, the coaching that you were able to do, the example that you were able to show. And kind of talk about how you formulated that and were able to help so many people achieve their dreams, right?
Thank you for that question, because if you remember when we were at APU, when we first started, nobody knew who APU was. Nobody knew who we were. APU was, I remember the first competition. It was APU, Azusa Pacific. Is that a high school? And this is somebody that lined up with me to run the 4x1 against me. But the goodness of it is, if you remember, in '84, the track I practiced on was a dirt track up on the hillside.
I remember.
Right? Yeah. And if you remember, Coach Franson, when I came in, Coach Franson didn't know much about sprints. But the one thing that I owe a lot to God, and then to how I was raised. My mom was always there for everybody. Yeah. And one thing she taught me was always do everything to serve for the glory of God. When you look at when we came to APU, and then how APU grew, and then world-class facility, and then world-class athletes were coming to train with us.
Yep.
I mean, the Myth of Champions, I started that, if you remember. I brought in Daley Thompson, Larry Marix, Chidi Imo, Tiago to come and run against me. We did some off events, right? And why was that? Because what happened was when I started going overseas, you know, they're like, what school do you go to? I said, the Pacific. And then as the Lord may have it, it started spreading that this innocent trains so crazy. His training is unbelievable. They have this hill that's 450 meters. They'll do this and do that. So everybody wanted to come. And then guess what? If you remember Amadou Diaba, Senegalese, Muslim, okay? But all comers, everybody was welcomed. And thank God for Coach Francis that allowed everybody to come and train with me. But the thing was, why was that? They were my competition. Derek Redmond, okay? One of the greatest quarter milers, of my time, Gabriel Tiago. But what I did was understand that let's take it back to the Bible. Okay, and I'll use that to exemplify what I see, how I see myself from the perspective of the question you asked. Who was Jesus Christ? He was a servant. You see, humility doesn't come from blowing the horn and showing your muscle. Humility comes from character. Yeah. Jesus Christ was a servant. What did he say? He didn't come to change the law, but to what? Fulfill. But above all, he was a servant, to the point where he even washed the feet of even the one that betrayed him. So if we will humble ourselves on the side of the Lord, what does it say? He will lift us high. So what I learned was, if I can, I met Amadou in 1985 at the World Cup. He said, I heard you train so hard. I live in France. Can I come and train with you? I said, yeah. At that time, Chris Gonzalez was my roommate. So I told Chris, this guy is going to be coming from Senegal to train with me. I said, okay. Chris is like, yes. Amadou lived with us, slept on the floor. Okay? But what was the outcome of Amadou's coming in 1985?
Silver medal.
He won the silver medal. Yeah. And remember, in 88, he was Andre Phillips, Amadou Diaba, and Edwin Moses. Yep. He would have won that gold medal. And the what makes it so neat is because I understood why I was there.
Yeah.
They told me, most people, when I met Derek Redmond, they said, oh, he's cocky. He's not, don't hang out with him. He thinks it's the best thing that happened to track and field. To them, he was cocky. To me, he wasn't cocky. He was just a guy trying to do whatever that's we're doing. But it rubbed people with the wrong way. But at the end of the day, guess what? Him and I became like brothers. He came and trained with me. He came and stayed with me. That's what it is. And success is not about one person. What does it say? Iron sharpens iron. At the end of the day, all of us that train together, Tiago, Amadou Diaba, Chidi Imo, Derek Redmond, we're all gold or silver medalists. But 90% of us were all silver medalists. And as we speak, we are still friends. We still talk to each other. So to me, it is all about giving back. As like you said, the transition was rough. I'm not going to lie to you. It was very rough. Going from being a world-class athlete and then trying to find a gig. It was interesting. I'm not going to talk about some of it, but what made it interesting was the fact that the challenges that I faced. Right? I remember one of the guys that came to watch me, and I gave him tickets to come and watch here and there, was a bank manager. So when my career was over, I reached out to him and said, sir, I would like to, I'm trying to find a job. Can I come and, work at your bank? He said, yeah, not a problem. We'll set up an interview. So, I thought it was just, and, him and I talking. I went into a boardroom there, a big old table with about 6 people sitting down. And I sat down and my resume, just made up my resume, made up, like I said. I didn't have any gig before that because every summer I was in Europe competing. And the same man that knew I was in Europe competing every time, the first question is, Mr. Benike, what job experience do you have? Where have you worked before? I didn't have an answer to that. So I knew I wasn't going to get the gig.
Yeah.
I walked out of that. I walked out of that very disappointed. I even spoke to coaches. Say, can I come and work here? Can I do this? No. So here I am. And again, keep this in mind. Thank God I was doing my master's at the time, because I would have been shipped back to Nigeria. But I was still in school. And thank God that I did that, because if I had not done that, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So as I was doing that, that was preparing me into the future. The first gig I got was Mount Sac. Thank God. It was Coach John Norton and Coach John Rue, I think. Is that Rue? Yeah. They were the ones that gave me the gig. I walked at Mount Sac, and that's how I started. In the process of starting at Mount Sac, that's how the doors, but it wasn't easy. But the goodness of it, my brother, is the fact that I was taught from when I was competing, whatever you do, don't ever allow that to be who you are.
Yeah.
My mom, in 1987, I went home to Nigeria. They were, on the Nigerian news, showing I just broke the Commonwealth record, which is all the British colonized countries, and I'm sitting there with my mom, and the news came on, 9 o'clock news, and I will never forget that, because as they said, Innocent Ebunike, the great Nigerian sprinter, Innocent Ebunike, just broke. My mom, she didn't even listen. She looked at me and said, "What, son? Let me tell you, and I'm being real. Said, don't let this get to your head. Whatever you do, you never run past God."
Ooh.
Thank you. Only understand that this also shall pass. At that point, I was like, oh my goodness. And she never saw me run in real life. Never. Because she, because they were against me running. So then I never, right? But the one time that it was, and they were showing the race, but she didn't see it. Because what meant to her was what she said to me. And that shook me up. I was a little bit like, you don't care? But when at night I look back, because a lot of athletes that competed at that level still find it hard to make the adjustment. Because something, when you're competing, everything is good and dandy. Okay? You could get, a lot of them, unfortunately, some of them are in jail or whatever because of the same reason. Because when they were competing, everything came easy. They all they did was do this and they got it. So when it was over, the adjustment was hard. But because of my upbringing, because of people around me, I was able to make the adjustment. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. But what prepared me for all of that was the trials and tribulations I went through during those years of competition. One of the biggest ones was 1984. 84 Olympic Games, where was it? About 30, 40 minutes away from us, wasn't it? Right?
Yes.
So imagine that. And I was going to do the 1 and the 2, but at some point, Coach Francis and I said, okay, let's do the 400. Which, now I look back, I said that was a big mistake, because I wasn't really experienced in the 400, right? Won all my rounds, going into the finals. Went into the finals. All the hype got to my mind, and I remember standing at the starting line when they were introducing me in lane 3. I said, "Don't even introduce me till after the race. The world will know who I am." That's what was crossing my mind. Those good old days, Miami Vice. I wanted to look sharp, dress like get me a Corvette. Up to today, bro, I don't have a Corvette. Okay, so that tells you. But that was what So, but what did that teach me? In that race, I finished last. And that's what I learned about human nature. People made fun of me. People laughed at me. Even when I went to Nigeria, a cab driver was taking me somewhere. When he said, "What's your name?" I said, "Innocent." He told me to get off his cab. He made sure that I walked to where I was going, and he was just driving next to me. He wouldn't let any cab pick me up, because he said that I took bribe from America to lose that 400 meters.
Oh gosh.
Yes. So those were the things that helped me understand that don't do anything to please anybody. Do everything because of whose you are. Don't, and again, don't choose when you take God with you. You have to choose to take, you have to have him 24/7. If you remember that the what do you call it? I say the American Express card, don't leave home without it.
I remember that.
I say Jesus, I don't leave home without him.
I remember that. Love it.
And that's the thing. So all those things that, I mean, I will not forget that when I got back to our room at Bowles, I contemplated suicide. I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to kill myself because I was the track and field news picked me to win at was the bronze medal. I beat everybody in that race.
Mm-hmm.
The only person I did not compete prior to that was Gabriel Tiaco because nobody knew who he was.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else I had competed against and I had beat them one time or the other. So I knew I was good to go. But here I am. I get there because why did that happen? Dr. Arnold, why? Because when I got there, I forgot who got me there. I forgot who got me there. My flesh got in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that changed my whole life. Because you know what is funny? The next year they brought the same, except for two that went there, Alonzo Bebers and Antonio Mackay were not there in 1985. They brought the rest of us back, and I beat everybody. I went 44-6, which would have won me a bronze medal in 1984 Olympic Games.
Wow.
Because God, I wasn't ready.
You weren't ready.
I wasn't ready. God knows the future. And if it wasn't for that, because who knows where I would be today, right?
Yeah.
If I had won that gold, I'll be driving Miami. I'll be driving some Corvette and everything else. But who knows where my soul would be?
Wow. Well, I love what you're saying. And I love you, like you said, you weren't ready. And one of the things that I teach is a thing called be, do, have. You got to become the person before you do the thing, and then you get to have the stuff. And we do it so backwards. We we think we're just going to go do everything, or we even do it backwards. Say, I'm going to go buy this, then I'm going to figure out how to do the thing, and then I'm going to be that person, right? And so it is so neat to say, okay, even in the highest level of competition, you still have to become the person that can do the thing that gets to have whatever it is. And so by you saying, hey, in 1984, even though I've been doing it, I've been working on it, I haven't become that person that God said you get to have the gold medal because you hadn't become the person that should be that person who's doing it. Which is just so amazing when we think about our identity and we think of, like you said, whose we are, and shaping that identity. And the people that are around us and that you've been talking to about is those people that shape who we are, but we still have to, in our head, we still have to have belief, right? And those things that we don't believe because we take our focus off of the person who formed us, who put us together, who made us. And then we go, okay, so what am I believing in them? And I feel so sorry for some people who don't have that, right? That can't find that solace in a God that put him together and said, you are special. You are that amazing person.
Amen.
Talk about a little bit about family and what family means. And because I know in the African, at least the African American culture, and I know, you've been here now 40 years, so you're indoctrinated.
You're right.
You're part of our culture, whether you want to be or not. Because people see us, right? It doesn't matter where you were really born. It just matters that you're there. Yep. But we struggle so much with the identity of what family should be or what it means or what I have to pretend I am in order for people to respect me or for people to love me. And then we have all these so on Sundays I'm doing a podcast that's called Why Love Waits, and we're talking about women, and there's 50%, and I don't know if you know the statistic, 50% of African American women or Black women in this country have at age 40 have never been married. and 75% of that 50% has at least one child. And
Wow.
so we have a huge issue because in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't like that. It was less than 20%.
Mm.
But we've now decided that either the women decided they don't need the men, and the men decided they don't need the women, and they're doing all these just stuff because they don't know whose they are.
Yes.
How have you developed family and made sure that family is the most important thing that
Wow.
can happen?
That's a thank you for asking that question. Again, being raised in a family where up to today, I have a sister and two brothers that are, still here. Thank God. We do not, up to today, when we give each other things, say for example, my brother is going through some challenges and I chip in some change, or I'm going through challenges, he chips in some change. The family I was raised up in, we don't say pay me back.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very important. And you've stood in my gap a few times too. So thank you. I'm very transparent. Thank you for your blessings. That's how it is. We have to understand. And again, family is not just blood related.
Yes, yes.
You know, again, a lot of times, family could be somebody from another culture.
Mm-hmm.
You and I are family.
I mean,
I
in
spoke to
many
you.
ways,
I spoke to your mom the other day, and I was very, very. I spoke to her like I would have spoken to my mom,
yeah.
because that's what family is. See, the problem we face in our society today is people tend to. I go back to something you said earlier. You see, um, we there's a saying in Nigeria that says you don't watch a masquerade standing in one place.
Mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's very true. You can't. You see, a lot of times, a lot of us in our community, because we've come from a community where we struggled, we strided, we strived, how it was rough. So when we get to where we think we have arrived, we walk away and say, I'm not going to let anybody, I'm not going to, I know what I went through to get here, so that's on them.
Mm-hmm.
But we forget we are one of the few cultures, and I'm being very critical here, that don't support one another. We're one of the few cultures. Instead, when we get to where we want to be, we move so far from our own immediate family. We move so far from our own immediate family to the point where you have to call me before you come over. I didn't grow up like that.
No.
You drive up and I'll make room for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
So
feed you.
yes, exactly. You see, but that's some of the problems we have encountered as a culture. We want to be noticed for who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because in some cases we don't want to be a part of our own immediate family, because, oh well, I can't help you, you got to help yourself. I gave you $10 the other day, you didn't do anything with it, and now you're coming for another $10. But you forget that this is your family. Are you doing it for them? Are you doing it because you're blessed to do it? I had circumstances where some friends said, "Oh, I'm going to do things different way from the way Innocent did it, because Innocent wasted his money." But I never wasted any money. What I did was take care of everybody around me. You were around, all of us. We took care of each other.
Yeah.
But that's how if you remember, when I was with shoe companies, the shoe companies, I would go to them and say, help my buddies out.
Yeah.
Right? And they did.
They did.
I never went and did things for me, myself, and I make sure everybody was included. It was inclusive. But the thing is, when you get to this culture where people say, well, if you you need to take care of yourself, because if you don't, people are going to milk you. You're going to become. But you know something? Who gave you what you have?
Mm.
Who gave you what? Those are the concepts we need to put in mind. God gave it to you. God gave it and God take it away. But if you bless others, I just since this this fire that's been happening here, I wrote this yesterday, and I wrote it from the perspective that this is who we should be. This is how we should live our lives. You know, it's this is what it says. It says, let me see, is that the one? No, that's not. Hold on one second. And the reason why I'm going to read this, not because I'm not a poet or a writer or what have you, but I write things from the way that it comes to mind. This is what I wrote down. It says, during challenging times, we unite in faith, despite the challenges before us, understanding that, understanding everything, every trial yields a testimony, be it rain or sunshine, hardship or triumph. Let us support one another and transform adversities meant to harm us into opportunities to grow. Encouragement and unite. Okay, so let us use these opportunities to grow, to encourage one another, and to unite. May our resolve strengthen us as we strive to offer our best with unwavering faith that God can turn the impossible into reality.
That's awesome.
And that is what we ought to do. You live with me. You had your own room, apartment, but you came and did I say don't live with me? No. You remember those days? Sunday Uti will come from Missouri. He will hang out with us because that's what we should do. When I went through my testing times, you were there for me. Yeah. So have other people been there for me? Because you know something? This world rotates. Nobody's an island. Nobody has it all. But when you, what is the problem we have? We have become that those individuals that, hey man, if I I have a limit of what I can do, or no, don't limit what God is, what you can do. Something. Look at my hand, right? Look at my hand, my brother. See that, right? See how it is, right? And this here, right? This here, what happened? It's tension. Tension. But when you do this, it flows in and it flows out. That's what we should do as brothers and sisters. That's what we should do to support one another. If when I was competing, I used to, and I'll be honest with you, I used to think it was all about innocent. I have some issues, and I give you money, I keep going. But when things weren't going where I had that kind of money, guess what? God blessed me to learn to pray and to get on my knees on behalf of my brothers and my sisters. So now I have both. When I can afford to help, I will help. When it's prayers, I will do it. But God prepares us. So let's not let selfish.
Yes.
Selfishness. Because when we're selfish, it's all about me and myself and I. And then if you look at the word sin, what is in the what's the letter in the middle?
I.
I rest my case, my brother. So that's the problem.
Yeah, I love it. I want to ask you a quick question because the reason that the Journey to Freedom started is because I went to a seminar where a guy was talking about trust. It was called The Trusted Edge, and I'm in the room and I see a sea of people, 500-600 people in a room, and I can only find 30 people of color in that room. And I go, if there's a community or a group of people that don't trust each other, we need what he was teaching, because he was literally, biblically and what goes on in the world, how do we trust? And I know it's hard to trust others, especially when they've given you a reason not to trust them. They've done things that you just have to look and go, whoa, I didn't know that person's character was like that. And I know you've been around that in many. How do you, despite people, because people are flawed and we all have sinned, how do you continue to remain to be able to trust folks and then still be able to move on? Because I think so many people get stuck in, I can't trust anybody ever again, so I'm not going to move forward. I'm just going to crawl into a shell and never do anything again. But you can't live that way. I mean, so how have you been able, despite all these, especially when you're a child of God, right? The enemy's going to bombard you. That's just going to happen. But you still have to trust, not only, I guess you trust him, but then how do you trust others as well?
The most important thing is, again, knowing whose you are, right? That's the number one thing. And then asking God to give you a discerning spirit. But better yet, the best of it is, do you have a relationship with God or relationship? Real or ill? A lot of times people have illness, ill relationship. So they only go to God when they need God.
Mm-hmm.
God is a 24/7 God. So if you have a relationship with God, then you will be able to read the word. You see, my brother, let me put it to you this way. Everything we need to succeed is already in the word of God.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
And as I think is I forgot his name. It's I can't remember his name. But and that's one of my favorite statements he made. Is it Carver? Washington Carver? Yeah, I think that's who it was. This is what he said. He said the Bible. He said everything we need to succeed in life is already in the Bible. And guess what? What verses, what book, what verses he used? He said Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. I trust in the Lord with all my. He said, trust in the Lord with all my heart, or all your heart. Sorry. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all of your ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Have I failed people? Yes. Am I perfect? No. So why should I hold grudges? What happens when I hold grudges? The devil makes that little minute issue become a big mountain. How many times have people said, have you thought about somebody, something you thought somebody said or did against you, and and then you see them, you don't talk to them, you don't act, right around them, till one day the Lord said to you, say something to them. And you say, well, man, the way I heard what you said, man, that was wrong. You shouldn't have said that. And they say, well, what are you talking about? I never said nothing about you. So the thing is, if we are children of God, we need to learn to communicate. We need to learn to communicate. We need to learn to be you see, yes, when you are a child of God, a lot of times, and you try to exemplify whose you are, people look at you to be weak. But what did Paul say in 2 Corinthians chapter 9? He said, when I am weak, he is strong. So we have to draw strength from God, because if we allow our flesh to get in the way, you and I will not be talking to a lot of people today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even people from APU, keeping it real.
Yeah.
But why should we? What have I gained from holding grudges? Who is suffering from it? Who, let's be honest with ourselves. Who is forgiveness for? Is it for the person that you forgive, or is it for you? It is for you. Because when you forgive, what did Jesus say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Because when you forgive somebody, guess what, my brother? You are letting go and letting God take over. Because if you don't forgive, seeing them alone would raise your blood pressure. So we have to learn. We have to learn to understand that we're going to stumble, we're going to fall. As everything I do, I always say to myself, I don't compare myself to anybody else or whatever somebody else is doing. Because if you look at my fingers, 5 fingers, they're not equal. So as people that are from our culture, let's go back to how we were raised. It takes a village. Look at these 5 fingers; they're not equal, but they work together. We got to learn to work together, because you have it made. Don't move away and look down at everybody else. I went home one year when I was competing. This guy came up to me out of the blues. I knew him before I left, but we were not friends.
Mhm.
So he said to me, and he said, Innocent, welcome back. I said, thank you. He said, I've not seen you for many years. I said, thank you. I said, yeah, me too. I've not seen you for many years. He goes, I want you to know, when a man grows to a certain point, he waits for other men to grow, and in some cases to go past him. It bothered me. I walked away from him. It bothered me. Then I went back to him. I said, why are you saying that to me? He goes, I said, it has nothing to do with you, but I want you to keep that in mind. Because somebody has it made, you shouldn't look down at everybody else that doesn't have it made. Because that is not where, because you know something? We are here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's all about God. What does the Bible say? I look up unto the hills. Where does my help come from? My help coming from the Lord, the maker of all things. So that's who we should serve. If for me to serve, I've been in circumstances where I was at places where there were leaders and prominent people in this world that have that like kings or what have you, and they said, Innocent, why go meet them? And I said, what am I going to gain from meeting this? What's the protocol? Oh, you need to bow down. And I said, no. The problem we have, my brother, is this: a lot of times we sell our souls, and when you sell your soul, you have nothing else to live for, and that's the problem a lot of us have. Either we sell our souls to what the things of the world, or we sell our souls to the environment of the world. Because remember, one of the key things that was said in the Bible was, what will it profit a man?
In the world. Yes.
And that's where we're at. Look at the world today.
Mhm.
The world today is not about character. It's not about integrity. It's not about respect.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. But again, keep this in mind as well. If Jesus was tempted, and during his temptation, he said, in his own words, not mine, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. So what is that word? The living word, which is still a living word today. But a lot of times, the only time the living word is what the preacher says, the preacher man says. That's the living word, because the Bible is collecting dust. We're not studying for ourselves. What got the black man out of those horrible times they went through during slavery was those songs, those words, those hymns, above all, relationship we had should still have with God. But today, do we have it? I asked that question. Who are we?
Who are we? Whose are we?
Whose are we?
So as we kind of wind down our time, it has gone so fast, and
I know, isn't that right?
it is. Oh my gosh, it's so good. We're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna do this several
Amen.
times. I would love for you to just kind of, whatever we didn't talk about, that you want to make sure that the listeners here get, whether it's about character, whether it's about love, whether it's about whatever it is that you want to make sure that folks that maybe are stuck, or folks that are trying to figure out how they can move on or what to do because the world, I guess, hasn't given them the things that they thought they may should have had. What could you say to those people as we end this?
Good. I'm going to say this. Thank you. I'm going to say this. First and foremost, we need to keep this in mind. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because we, as human beings, God made everybody unique. Each one has their own DNA, even identical twins. When you go into their DNA, you could separate them. So we cannot compare ourselves to anybody else. And let's understand the concept of how we were made. When we were made, it took 9 months That's why people don't understand. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this, and I stand by this, and stand by it as long as I live. The greatest love on earth that God is, the greatest way God is showing us love on earth is a mother's love to their child. That's the greatest. So all of us that insult our moms and cuss them out, stop that, because that umbilical cord. We need to go back to having that umbilical cord with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We need to understand that when we were born, we were held. We were put down on the ground. We couldn't walk. We crawled. We tried to walk. We stumbled and fell. Then we're able to walk. Then from walking, we're able to jog. We're able to run. That is how we should live. But a lot of times now, we compare ourselves to somebody else. Do you know what is shameful about today's world? Up until my dad passed away in 2016, when I sent money to him, he said, "Where did you get the money from?" He knew what I did, but that's the morals. To remind me, don't do anything that's outside the box. But today, people bring money, parents don't even ask where they got the money from. Up until something goes wrong. We need to go back to whose we are. Everything we do is given to us for a reason. We're not here to serve man. When you are in any and every situation you go through, understand that it's about your relationship with God. That's the most important thing. Remember, you crawled, you were held, you crawled. So everything, even in life, as we're older, getting older, we're gonna crawl, we're gonna stumble, we're gonna fall, you're gonna lose. But if you don't lose, you won't understand what victory is. If I didn't lose that 84 Olympic gold medal and come back 3 days later and win a bronze in the 4x4, I won't be here today. So God will not give you things unless you're ready for it. Don't run past God. Don't understand that when you run past God, you are in charge of your own destiny. Get rid of that wanting to be the driver, wanting to be the pilot, wanting to be the captain. Get rid of that in each of our lives and give everything to God. A typical example is when you're in a plane and there's turbulence. You grab these chairs. Everything is going down. You have no power. None of us are woken up by ourselves. We're woken up by the grace of God. So as we understand life, as we live life, forgive each other and embrace each other's presence. Color is not an issue. Where we come from is not an issue. But again, a lot of things we become is what we learn. Love is not learned. Love is a gift from God. It's a gift. So let's live that love. Like, think about this. When COVID hit, I said, I'm going to try to go back to school. At first, I'm like, oh, no. But I did. I went back, got my second master's in sports psychology. It was rough. It was hard. At times, I'll be, first of all, when my first assignment was, you need to turn in the paper on, 7th edition, APA edition. I'm like, what is that? Last time I went to college, school for graduate school was 1992. That's when I graduated. But you know something? I was humble enough to say to one of our children, say, hey, you just graduated. Can you be my advisor?
Yeah. Wow.
And what they told me when I met with the counselors, they said it's going to take you, since you're working full time, it's going to take you 4 years. It took me 2 years. At times I will be sending my assignment at 6 a.m., then rushing in the shower to get dressed to go to work. But it was sustained by God's grace. But a lot of times, kids today don't even want to go to school because they chase after money. Money was here before we came. Money will be here when we leave. So let us let go and understand that we are created to be servants, to serve one another, above all, to serve God. We can't. So don't judge me because of what somebody said to you about me. Don't conclude about me because maybe you told me something one time and I didn't listen to you. The Bible says to forgive one another 70 times, 70 times. It's not about you
Mm-hmm.
because when you hold things, you hold grudges. What are you doing? You are hurting yourself. There's been times, Brian, I've called Dr. Arnold. I've come to you and say, hey man, your brother's hurting. You didn't even ask me. You wrote me a check. And I don't forget those moments. People will say, well, you were a four-time Olympian, four-time Olympic coach. But circumstances do happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about don't question somebody for what they're going through. Don't judge somebody for where they're at. Pray for them. Embrace them. I don't look down at people. I look down to help people up. And that I did that as an athlete, and I'm going to as a coach, and I'm going to continue to do that as long as the Lord allows me to. Because at the end of the day, my brother, when I go to every night, what I say to myself is, I'm going to stand before God.
Yeah.
I even say to my wife this. I say to my wife, I'm going to stand before God. So we and I could have this argument, but when I stand before God, He's going to ask me, when A, B, C, D happened, what did you do to bless me, to please me? So the same thing I say to my friends, the same thing I say to my athletes. One thing, everything I do, and I say this to you, Dr. Arnold, everything I do, I want opportunity to celebrate those around me, to celebrate what God is giving them. That's what drives me. I want to celebrate you, and I'm celebrating you now by this program you have. That blesses me. It's a celebration for me. That's what life should be. It shouldn't be like, why should they have this over me? Duh, who are you?
Wow.
So my goal in life is to celebrate everybody around me. Ask God every day, give me an opportunity to celebrate people, to celebrate you, Lord, the talent you've given them, to celebrate. I coached a young man, Angelo Taylor. When he came to me, everybody said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He wasn't going to be able to amount to anything because they said his career was over. But you know something? Him and I built that relationship. We prayed every single day from the day he came to me to the day he went back 8 years later with the gold medal. We prayed every day. As he would say to me, say, Coach, man, I was out hanging out with my buddies, man. When you called me, how did you know I was over here? That was because when you're in tune with God, the Holy Spirit guides and leads you. So let us not let the flesh get in the way. Forgetting what's behind and always strive. My goal is to celebrate my relationship with God through other people and celebrate God blessings to other people in my own life. And that's what we should do.
Wow, I love it. Thank you so much for man, so many clues in that, right? I started the show saying success leaves clues, and he talked about comparing yourself. God put you on this earth to be who He put you on this earth to be, not to be
Amen.
somebody else's in somebody else's name. He
Amen.
talked about working hard and making sure that you're just not trying to get stuff just because you showed up. He said, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I worked, I put in the hours, I put in the time that I did. His prayer is like my prayer. My prayer every morning is, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things you put me on this earth to do in a
Hallelujah.
way that pleases you and serves
Hallelujah.
others. That's how my
Whoa, I
prayer
love that. I love that. I love it. Pleases you and serves others. But that's what it should be.
is. Mhm.
That's what it should be. You remember at times all of us would hop in the car. There's a time nobody gave me a ride. I'll jog up to the hillside.
Yeah, yeah. And it
But
wasn't like 20 feet. It was like a couple miles, like 3 miles.
thank you, Kristen too. Remember, Kristen.
I
Kristen.
remember
At times,
there was.
thank you. But
Oh,
you
yeah.
know something? Like I tell people, that built character.
Oh, absolutely.
That built
Absolutely.
character. I don't look back and say, well, those people were mean. No, because God used those situations to make me who I am today. That was the time you and I, all of us in that room will look and say, it's 8 a.m. Let's sleep in. One of the gigs I have in the fall, I have to be at work at 7:30. At times it took me 3 hours to get to work, driving. But you know something? But all those moments prepared us. My dad used to say to me, Innocent, don't ever think that, when you're in a situation, enjoy it, because that next situation might be different.
Yeah.
I've been blessed. I coached in Qatar. I've coached some of the best athletes. But again, what is my duty? I always say to myself, it's all about allowing God, like you said, to please God and serve others. It's all about, for me, what drives me is that in my mind is one day I'm going to stand before the Lord. I don't want to hear, go over there, you, whatever. I want to hear, job well done, my faithful servant. That's what drives me every day, is understanding that whatever I do, I will stand before God. And if we can all understand that, God is not an image. God is not a yo-yo.
Nope.
God is not, something. God is God all by himself. Yep. He spoke and this world became. Another thing I'm going to leave us with, let's be careful what we say about ourselves. Ooh, be careful what you say about yourselves or to your children. Be very careful, because the word of mouth is very powerful. Remember, this word was spoken into existence. So the word is very powerful. So let's be extremely careful. When you say to your child, you'll never amount to anything, be careful. Let us plant seeds that grow. Even if the seed is not growing the way we want it, pray that somebody else will water the seed to grow the way it should grow. But don't ever judge, or don't ever speak negativity about yourself, because what you say eventually, in most cases, you become. Speak well of yourself. Speak well of your family. How many times have you said, Dr. Arnold, how many times, Dr. Brian, how many times have you said to yourself, you woke up in the morning and say, I don't feel good, and that day you don't feel good? The word of mouth is very powerful.
Absolutely.
It's very powerful.
Power of the tongue.
Amen. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's what the word says. So we need to be careful what we speak. Because a lot of times we as a people, we say things about each other so negative. Yeah. You are this, you are that about our children. And then when they start living, when they start living that, what we said, when did this happen to me? How did this happen to me? You said it to them. You spoke into their lives. You spoke into their lives, and they've become what you were speaking. We have to be careful how we speak. We have to be careful what we say. As athletes, I remember some races where I said I'm going to lose, and I went in there and lost. So Lord used that to teach me that I have to be careful. I don't say negativity about other people. I try not to. And I'm flesh, and when I do, I ask God to forgive me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what you speak could become what it is. So be mindful, my brothers and my sisters. Be careful, us human beings. Let's be careful. That's very important. That's critical. Thank you, my brother.
You're welcome. And for those of you who haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. Hit notifications, because I promise you, you will find in these interviews and these times that we are talking to people what exactly God has for you, what you are looking for, because all of us are different, right? All of us have somebody we can relate to. All of us have somebody that can lift us up. The stuff that we learned today, I took all kind of notes, and I hope you did too. Go back and listen to it again, and get in touch. Get in touch with the man who made you, the God that you have of the universe that is here for you. So, Innocent, thank you for coming on. I told you this was going to be a special podcast, and it turned out to be. We will do another one. This isn't the last time that we're going to spend the time with you, last time today. So you have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day, those who are out there, and we will look forward to talking to you later. Innocent, don't go away, and we will talk to you, the rest of you, tomorrow.